Hi everyone, this is Luna. I'm going to be talking about Wattpad and my experience with it, but the video right here that you're seeing is just basically me painting a fireworks on watercolor paper. If you're just here to see that, feel free to mute this and listen to something else while you're watching the video. But to those who want to hear about my experience with Wattpad, enjoy! Okay, so to those who don't already know, Wattpad is a place where people can post their fan fiction or original stories, and sometimes they can get published to make money off it. When I was first there weren't an extreme amount of ads, but now there are writers that can make money off it by running ads on their stories that are pretty popular. And I'm going to start listing the issues that I have when I started reading that I see in a lot of stories there. This list is not in a relevant order, but it's just a list of stuff that you've probably seen in a Wattpad story before. Number 1, the male love interest is a bad boy, but acts differently when he's around this certain girl, which is the main character. And I'm thinking, this is going for the trope that a bad boy changed because he got a girlfriend. And I'm thinking, no, it's not like that. You should not romanticize that. Here is why I think that. A girl should not get with a guy that she has to go out of her way to change to be with. If anything, a girl should go with a guy that the guy went out of his way to realize that, oh, this path I'm taking is not gonna end well, and I should change for myself so I can get a better life. And if the girl is with him while he's changing, that's okay. But if the girl has to go out of her way to change the guy, then it's probably not going to work out. That's what I'm thinking. The second one is the trope that this girl is special and that she's not like all the other girls. But there's nothing that makes her special. Like, she's literally just like every other girl that you could see. But that makes her special, even though there's nothing defining. Like, this will correlate with another trope, is that this girl, to make her special, they make her clumsy. And I'm thinking, how does that make her special with poor coordination? And the thing is, your character can be clumsy, and you can work with being clumsy, and that's fine. The thing is, when you're a character, if the girl character is in a job that requires her to be very specific in detail, you do not want her to be clumsy. Like, if your nurse comes in and she's like dropping all your meds on the floor, would you really trust that nurse? You would not have that. And there are a bunch of stories that I've read where the character is in a profession where you cannot be clumsy, but they write her as clumsy. And I'm thinking, oh, this does not bode well at all. Just thinking. And this really correlates all together because you can't find one without the other. This is, the girl is an innocent young flower. And that is impossible in this day and age when you got the internet. And most of these tropes are written in the modern day. Unless she grew up in a cult, then she could be a special girl who is completely different from everyone else, because she grew up in the cult, and that's why she's like an innocent little flower. But she grew up in the modern day age with access to the internet, with kids her age. Unless she was homeschooled, she cannot be innocent in the way that they're talking about. You have got to realize that a bunch of teenagers watch TV and they'll see stuff online and they'll be like, oh, I know what this reference is, I know what that innuendo is. People know, because kids socialize, teenagers socialize, and they'll talk to other kids and teenagers and adults, and they all know what, like, in the innuendos that people speak about. Now, this one issue I have is geared towards romance, and it's always the guy abducts the girl character, and that's supposed to be romantic. And I'm thinking, no, it's not. It's not romantic at all. It's called kidnapping, and it's illegal. And I'm just gonna, cause when I got to a point when I was reading Wattpad and I completely just shut off the story when they include abduction. And I can't tell you. There was one story that I read where it was really cool. It was set in a fantasy setting where this girl rescues a dragon and she takes care of the dragon, but the dragon shapeshifts into a man and then he kidnaps the girl. And I'm just thinking, this does not bode well at all. Why is this a thing? And the thing is, the guy and the girl characters don't speak the same language. So that's just going to be better on top of it. And the little I read of his thought process was, this woman is going to be my wife. That was it. I'm going to take her to be my wife without her consent. And I'm just like, oh, this is not a good story. Not good at all. So I tossed those in the bin. There are so many, I cannot tell you how many werewolf stories I read where the guy abducts the girl. And I'm like, okay, the fact that it was a werewolf story should have sent like alarm bells in my head, but I wanted to see if they were actually going to do something with it. And they didn't. They just abducted the girl. Why? And one of the last issues I have is that a bunch of the stories that I saw that usually had the running theme of, I got pregnant by this dude. And I'm thinking, you should not write a story on that. And when I read the summaries, they usually had the setting in high school. And they're teenagers. And I'm thinking, oh, this is not a good story at all. The fact they had to do this with teenagers with unprotected sex. I'm thinking, don't any of these guys have birth control or like no protection? And I can't even read those. Like, I don't even bother reading those. Okay, now that I got all the issues out of the way, I'm gonna start explaining my experience with Wattpad. It's more of a love-hate relationship. Like, there are good stories on there if you look hard enough. You just gotta sort through all the bad ones, which are like 70% of it. And I'm gonna start with like the first story that I really hated, because a lot of stories are like okay, and that's okay. There's nothing really good about it. There's nothing bad about it. But this story, I really do not like this story. And this story I read was like a couple years ago. This was a long time ago. And I tried looking back to see if it's still on Wattpad. It's been taken down, I believe. And probably because they put out a book or somewhere. But I'm going to explain it as best as I can so you can understand how frustrated I was when I read it. Okay, this was in a mafia setting, so the bad boy aesthetic, I guess. And, well, not mafia setting, the guy was in the mafia. It's modern day. And the girl, I don't even bother, she was an innocent little flower. Yet she was clumsy and worked as a baker. Which makes no sense to me, because if she messes up on a batch of cookies, that's the entire sale of the afternoon gone down the drain. Just saying. And I don't remember the story that much, but I'm just going to tell you what happened, because I don't think there was really a linear storyline with this. That's the thing with Wattpad stories. They don't really do like the conflict and then like the resolution, the building of the conflict. You know, the stuff that you learn in elementary school. They don't do that. They just like tack on stories that just go in there until it ends one day. And I'm going to tell you this, she got almost mugged like 3 times in the story. And I'm like, this must be a really dangerous neighborhood she moved in. And I'm like, no, this is a very very safe neighborhood. It's very rich. The fact there are like so many bakeries and there are coffee shops of where she worked at. And the mafia dude that is in love with her, he stalks her throughout like 70% of the book. And I'm just thinking, this is not romantic. How is this romantic? And some through like 25% of the story, you go through like his thought process through his point of view, and he keeps on saying that he'll always protect her no matter what, even though she can't see me. And I'm thinking, why do you like her? You never explained. There's nothing. Why do you like her? She doesn't seem to know you. Because there was like 3 times. That was during the times where she almost got mugged, where he went in and saved her. But I thought maybe that she would recognize him from something. Like, maybe that's why he likes her. Maybe they're like old flames. And there was nothing. I couldn't even. Ugh. There was like, she had no clue who he was, but he knew who she was. And I'm thinking, maybe for like saving grace, she got like amnesia somewhere down the line, somewhere from earlier, and she doesn't remember them. And, or maybe he's like a very like old childhood sweetheart, maybe. And I don't. The thing is, down the line, it never paid off. There was no reason why he would like her. For when he talked about his backstory way later on, he mentioned, oh, I never really did much as a kid. My father was abusive. He was abusive to my mom, to me. He locked me in a cage. And I'm thinking, wait, then how did you meet her? How did you meet this female character? How did you fall in love with this female main character that you so obsessively stalk? So, this 70% of the book. And I was thinking, maybe she did get amnesia or something later down the line. Maybe she helped him in his like darkest hour. And it never did. And like, she never acknowledged it. The book never acknowledged it. The author never acknowledged it. It just showed that they were just 2 characters, 1 man, 1 female, just got together just for the heck of it, for the story. And I'm thinking, why? And let me just, the dialogue that I remember from it, I wish I could purge it from my mind. This one quote that I remember that I wish I could change. It was, she turned the most ruthless criminal into Betty Crocker. And I'm just thinking, why is this a thing? Why? Why is this a thing? And this is a story that I remember had like a million people viewed. And I don't know how that is, but this is, oh god, I can't even. Now that rant is over, I'm gonna talk about that one good story that I found that I really liked. And I couldn't find it again, actually. This is what I remember from memory and why I liked it. The female character is around in her 30s, I believe. And you see in the first scene that she gets left at the altar. And then it jumps a bit in the future. From what I remember, it shows that she has a strained relationship with her family. And the guy that left her at the altar is still a family friend, even though he left her, which is kind of messed up. And you see that the male love interest for her, which is not the guy that left her at the altar, to specify, this is a different guy. The guy who's a male love interest isn't like a complete dick. He's just a little bit cold, and he's her boss, so he has to act professional. So you don't see him acting like completely weird. And throughout the story, you see him progress from like a person who's a bit standoffish to just like he warms up like gradually. It's not like complete 0 to 600 or something. And when you see that later on in the story, the female character she comes to realization that, the marriage that I was about to enter into wasn't really great. This was a sign that she got married because like her family wanted her to get married. Her mom wanted her to be married to a husband, and she realizes like, this is not what I want. This is not what I'm happy with. And I really respect that she comes to that realization like, this is not what I wanted. And there's a scene where she gets into an argument with her mother in a public place. she gets up and her mom's saying, "You're gonna make a scene," but she just stands there, and this is what I remember: "I'm not making a scene. I'm just simply leaving." And then she left her mom there, like at, I think was a restaurant somewhere. I guess that's what I remember. And then she just like walked out of the place, and she got the last word in there. And what, this is gonna be way later down the story, it was the male character, that the male love interest that you see interact with her. There's a scene that you see, like, it's referenced multiple times throughout the story, that the guy is known for like going at high speeds through like streets and stuff, and you're thinking, oh, he's just like an adrenaline junkie, that's just how he is. But then like you see there's a reason for that, and he comes clean with like, oh, I did this thing, and then like because I did it, it caused this to happen, and I blame myself because like this person died because of me. It's like I was the one driving, and then he sees like, oh, like he's trying to punish himself because this happened to him, and he was the one driving, and then he comes to realization like, oh, I need to change because nothing good would come out the way it does, and he shouldn't blame himself. And the girl, the main character, is like, I understand, and she's like, I'll be here every step of the way. It's like, I just want you to get better. And he's like, yeah, and he goes, I really appreciate that you're there. And what I liked is that he changed. The reason he went to get some help and go to a therapist, unload, and realize that it's not his fault. And that's what I really liked about that, because you always see guy characters be like, oh, I changed because of you, the female love interest, but it's actually, oh, I changed because I come to this realization that it really wasn't my fault that this happened. Like, it's just unfortunate circumstance. And you see later down the road, like, the main female character, his mom got sick and got into an accident, and then the main female character, along with her male love interest, like, go to the hospital. Like, she reconciles with her mom. Her mom actually says, like, I'm sorry that it made you do all this, that it came out terrible, that I just wanted you to be in a stable relationship, and I didn't really think about what you wanted, and the stable relationship that I thought that you were going to be in wasn't actually stable, and she apologizes to her daughter, and that's what I liked. And then like later on, like the female main character like leaves for a second, like to think about stuff, and then she overhears the male love interest like talking to the main character's mom, and they're actually talking about like I've been in situations where I blamed a lot of things, and they go on having a conversation, and then she says, you actually do like my daughter. And that's what I liked. Like, the main male character says, yeah, I do, I really do. And he said, but I'm gonna wait to make sure that she likes me too. And that's what I liked. They were, at the very end of the story, they got together in a relationship, and it was a very healthy relationship that I could see actually lasting. And that's how I remember the story. It was just fine. That was it. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking of, oh, this must mean Wattpad has really bad stories, and it's known for having bad stories. And I don't want you to think that. Wattpad can have good stories in there. There are really interesting premises that are on there. Some probably not as well executed as they probably hoped, or others. But there are good stories. I don't want you taking away as like, oh, we should probably avoid Wattpad. All the Wattpad stories are bad. Or, well, while I can see that there are bad stories, there are people that put effort into their work. You shouldn't devalue that. They went out of the way to try to write something that they want to see down on paper and post it online for people to read and see how they reacted. Some might be bad, some might be good. It's all up to the person who's writing it. And I just like for people to know that there are writers that do improve and they have to start somewhere. Not everyone starts out as Shakespeare, man. We all have to learn. That's gonna be it for this video. If you like what you're seeing, hit that like button. If you don't like it, tell me what you don't like in the comments. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. I try to update every other week, and that's probably gonna be it. Bye!